The rain came down in sheets, a cold, relentless downpour that mirrored the endless struggle of Ben's life. Every step home was a battle against the wind and the water seeping into his worn-out shoes. After a grueling 14-hour shift, all he wanted was to see his son, to hold him tight and forget the world. But as he cut through a familiar, dark alley to save a few minutes, something stopped him dead in his tracks. A small figure, curled into a ball, lay soaked and motionless on the cold, wet concrete. It was a young girl, barely a teenager, her face pale and her body shivering uncontrollably. Without a second thought, Ben's paternal instincts kicked in. He scooped the girl into his arms. She was so light, so fragile. He rushed through the storm, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs. Bursting into his tiny apartment, he gently laid her on his own bed, the only one he had. He stripped off her drenched clothes, wrapped her in every warm blanket he could find, and began the delicate process of first aid. He checked her pulse, her breathing, relieved to find she was alive, just unconscious and hypothermic. His own exhaustion vanished, replaced by a singular focus. Saving this child, he spent the next few hours by her side, a constant, reassuring presence. When she finally stirred, her eyes fluttered open, wide with fear and confusion. She wouldn't speak, not a single word. Whatever horrors she had endured had stolen her voice. Ben didn't push. He just smiled gently, offering her a warm bowl of soup he'd made. He had to use the last few dollars in his wallet to buy the ingredients and some basic medicine. Money he had earmarked for his son as a school trip. But looking at the girl, her name's still a mystery. He knew he'd made the right choice. He treated her with the same tenderness he showed his own child, telling her soft stories and promising her she was safe. Days melted into a week. He nicknamed her Lily, because despite her silence, he saw a resilient spirit, like a flower determined to bloom. He juggled his demanding job, caring for his son, and nursing Lily back to health. It was exhausting, a constant tightrope walk over a financial abyss, but he never wavered. One evening, while Lily and his son were quietly drawing together, a news report flickered on his old television. "Billionaire's daughter still missing," the headline blared. A picture of a smiling girl flashed on the screen. Ben glanced at it, a flicker of recognition, but his mind was so fogged with fatigue he couldn't place it. He dismissed it, his focus returning to the real, silent girl in his living room. He just couldn't connect the pampered princess on the screen with the traumatized child he had rescued from an alley. Life in their small apartment found a new, quiet rhythm. Lily started to show small signs of recovery. A faint smile when his son told a silly joke. A soft touch on Ben's arm when he looked particularly weary. She was still a ghost, haunted by her past, but she was slowly, surely, coming back to life. Ben felt a deep, protective love for her, a bond forged in the storm and strengthened with every bowl of soup, every quiet moment of shared space. He began to dread the day she might leave, even as he knew he had to find her family. He just didn't know where to start. The calm was shattered one afternoon by the screech of tires outside his building, peeking through the blinds. Ben's blood ran cold. Several black sedans had surrounded the block. Men in sharp, black suits, faces grim and purposeful, were getting out, their eyes scanning the area like predators. His first thought was that they were the ones who had hurt Lily, that they had come back to finish the job. Panic seized him. He grabbed Lily and his son, ushering them into the small closet. "Stay quiet," he whispered, his voice trembling. "Don't make a sound." He stood guard by the door, his heart hammering against his chest, ready to defend them with his life. A loud, authoritative knock rattled the apartment door. "We know she's in there." "Open up!" a voice boomed. Ben's mind raced. Should he call the police? But what if these men were the police? Before he could decide, the door splintered open, and the men in suits flooded in. Ben stood his ground, a defiant, terrified guardian. But then, an older man, his face etched with worry and grief, pushed past the security team. His eyes, desperate and searching, scanned the room before locking onto the closet door. "Lily!" he called out, his voice cracking with emotion. "Lily! It's Daddy." From inside the closet, a small, choked sob was the first sound Ben had heard her make. The door creaked open, and Lily stumbled out, Her eyes locked on the man. "Daddy," she cried, and ran into his arms. The man, Mr. Sterling, one of the wealthiest men in the country, collapsed to his knees, clutching his daughter as if he'd never let go. Tears streamed down his face as he kissed her head, her cheeks, murmuring her name over and over. Ben watched, his own eyes welling up, the fear and tension draining away, replaced by an overwhelming sense of relief. The men in suits were not monsters. They were saviors. Later, after the emotional reunion had settled, Mr. Sterling turned to Ben, his expression one of profound, immeasurable gratitude. "I can never repay you," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "My daughter, you saved her life. Name your price. $1 million. 10 million. Whatever you want. It's yours." Ben looked from the billionaire to Lily, who was now safe and sound in her father's embrace. He shook his head, a small, genuine smile on his face. "I don't want your money, sir," he said softly. "I just want to know, is she going to be okay?" Mr. Sterling was stunned into silence. In his world of transactions and price tags, he had encountered something truly priceless. Pure, selfless kindness. He was deeply moved by Ben's humility and character. He didn't just write a check. He embraced Ben, promising him that his days of struggle were over. He set up a trust fund for Ben and his son, bought them a beautiful new home, and offered Ben a high-level position in his company, one that allowed him plenty of time with his family. The story ends, not with a transaction, but with a new beginning. A scene of two families, one separated by class and circumstance, now united by a single act of compassion, sharing a meal together, their laughter filling a home built on the foundation of a good heart. Thank you so much for watching. If this story touched your heart, please remember to like, share, and subscribe for more content that celebrates the best of humanity. We'll see you in the next video.